The e-resource of this episode is Chilton. Our Chilton library offers step-by-step repair, maintenance, and service information on the most popular cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs on the road today, as well as many new vehicles. You can find Chilton Library under the topic Automotive in the research section of our website.
Joco Library Uncovered.
To many, like me, spring means rebirth, rejuvenation, renewal, resurrection, and regrowth. For others, it means... Okay, to be honest, I cannot relate to you if you do not love spring. If there is one song that sums up this season, it's Nina Simone's Another Spring from the 1969 album Nina Simone and Piano. The song is about an elderly woman lamenting winter. She says, "Sometimes the cold gets in my bones so bad till I just don't think I can go on." I can relate. I don't hate winter, but I understand how the short days, the cold, the lack of activity, the lack of life can be, challenging. But then things change. Later in Simone's Another Spring, she sings, "Then, one morning, another spring is there outside my door. Things are blooming, birds are singing, and suddenly, yes, well, I ain't sad." And like Nina, I'm thankful. Is it going to be better this time? Definitely. Groovier, as Nina puts it? Sure, why not? I welcome spring, and I welcome you back to Joco Library Uncovered. It's a new year for the podcast, and the last episode for our 4-season collection exploration. By the way, if you missed any of our previous episodes, the Summer Getaway, Fall into Fall, or Winter Wonders, you can find them all at jocolibrary.org/uncovered. Each provides links to Johnson County Library staff recommended book lists in our catalog, and please remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now, without any further ado, let's spring into spring. To begin our Spring into Spring collection exploration, I'd like to welcome in a couple of guests who will be sharing their recommendations. First to my right, I'd like to welcome back Piepie. She is a patron services specialist for our Northwest region libraries, mostly at Monticello. Hi, Piepie.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's so good to see you again. Piepie, tell me, what did you look for in determining what would be great suggestions for our theme, Spring into Spring? What was your criteria?
Well, Dave, I just looked for light, easy, refreshing stuff, quick reads, just things that you think about when you think about spring, spring cleaning, classical music, things of that nature.
Lots of books about spring cleaning?
I just have the one.
Okay. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear. Okay. So to my left, what the heck? Why, it's patron service specialist from our central region, specifically our Central Resource Library, Charles. Welcome, Charles.
Hi, Dave. Great to be here.
Well, Charles, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the Joco Library Uncovered podcast?
I am somewhat familiar. Yeah, I like to listen to podcasts, so yes.
Well, this one's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I may have recently been a co-host of this podcast.
I was going to say you were a huge reason why this was a pretty good podcast.
Yeah, so my duties recently changed. I'm on the floor more, helping our patrons more directly out there. So less time for fun things like podcasts to share recommendations, but I'm happy that I still get to guest on the podcast and still get to share those from time to time. So not as regular as I was, but I'll still pop in when I can.
Well, we'll take you whenever we can get you. And so I'll tell you what, let's spring into this. That's horrible. Bye. What's your first recommendation?
My first recommendation, Dave, is this little book. It's called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. I mean, how's that for a title? It's by Margareta Magnusson. And like I said earlier, you can't talk about spring without spring cleaning. You know, whether you want to do it, whether you're just thinking about doing it, you know, it's all about motivation, isn't it?
Wow.
I love decluttering and organizing. And if you want to give your house just like a thorough going over, this is a good book to keep in your personal library. It's fun. It's a quick read and just really concise, just fun information.
Yeah, it's like an instructive guide.
But it's fun.
But it's fun.
It's written really just quirky.
Playfully.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. So what was that title and author again?
The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning by Margareta Magnusson.
Okay, so I guess I'm familiar with, is it death metal or whatever, dark metal? I'm not sure, but it's definitely like a Swedish type of thing. I'm over my skis here. I don't know what I'm talking
The
about.
author says she's in her 80s.
Okay.
So I think it's just about how I would describe it is, you know, getting rid of things that don't really serve you anymore.
Okay.
Making it easier.
Part of it.
I guess so, yes. Making it easier for, you know, family or friends, you know, giving your things a new home if you're not using them anymore.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's switch over to Charles. What is your first suggestion?
Yeah, so a little spoiler. Piepie and I did talk before this podcast about kind of the themes of what we wanted to bring. And along the cleaning side of things, I decided to bring one about maintenance that might be something people are looking to the library for. So I brought small engines and outdoor power equipment, and this is the second edition edited by Peter Hunn. I grew up really enjoying the how stuff works kind of books and getting to see the mechanics behind machines and simple objects. And this book I appreciated because it not only goes through like step by step just maintenance and diagnostic of things that might be going wrong with like a wood chipper or your lawnmower or something like that. It also talked about the theory of how those engines work and diagrams of like, this is the airflow comes in here. And so you kind of understand more about what the engine is trying to do and the jobs that it's trying to do. So when you're approaching those repairs and something's going wrong, you have an easier time diagnosing that.
Sure. And I mean, so many people have problems with small engines, specifically with the carburetor, because the gas goes bad over winter. You've got to take that out of whatever small engine you have. If you don't, it gums up the carburetor, and then you have something that doesn't work, and your productivity sinks.
So that's why I liked that Small Engines and Outdoor Power Equipment second edition by Peter Hunn. Yeah. If you have other things, maybe like a car that's been sitting for the winter and needs a tune-up as well, I did want to throw out, we have some online databases, the Auto Repair Source and Chilton Library databases.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
You can get to those through our website, but the library has lots of things about maintaining your engines and making sure that all your stuff is running like it should.
Okay, you know what? I'm really liking the organization and the flow of your recommendations here, because it's like we've all been hibernating. We're all inside. But now it's spring, and so first clean your house before you leave your house, and then you got to get those small engines ready so that you can do all the little projects that you need to do. Maybe you need to drive to the store, and that car needs to tune up. I'm hearing you.
Very important.
So what's the next on this journey of spring, Piepie?
Well, Dave, before we got started, you and I were talking about vacations and festivals, and what I think about when I think of warmer weather is food trucks and food festivals.
Yes.
I mean, there's such a great collection of those things here in Kansas City. We're very fortunate.
Talking my language now.
Yeah. There's just something about eating outside with people who mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite foodies to follow is the actor Stanley Tucci. He has a new memoir that came out last year, and I just started it, and I'm very excited. It's called What I Ate in 1 Year by Stanley Tucci. And it's written in an almost diary format.
Yeah.
Each day is a page or a few pages. And he talks about what he was up to, what he was filming, and of course, what he was eating and cooking for himself and others. It runs from January 2023 to January 2024. So pretty recent, and his writing style is very good, and his descriptions of food will definitely make you hungry.
Nice. Okay. Well, that just the mention of it's making me hungry. Maybe it's the time of day. But thank you very much for that. One more time, the title is
What I Ate in 1 Year by
that's
Stanley
Stanley
Tucci.
Tucci.
Yeah,
I always
it's a
said
bright
it
red
in-
book.
Okay. Set it in harmony. Isn't that nice? All right. Well, now we're going to move back over to Charles, and I see you have a CD in your hand.
I do, yeah, some physical media here. I have a CD by George Winston, and it's titled Eastern Montana. It's a solo piano album by George Winston. And I actually hadn't really heard about George Winston until this album. But he was an American pianist who actually just passed away a couple years ago in 2023. He also played guitar and harmonica. Got his start playing like blues piano, stride piano, that kind of stuff, with a lot of other famous blues and jazz musicians. But over time, he developed his own style of music, which he liked to call rural folk style.
Huh.
So he didn't really like labels on his, which kind of is hard for a library because we have to put it somewhere. So in ours, he typically falls under the jazz category, the jazz CDs. But it's just solo piano. It's got nice open chords. It's got very memorable melodies. But it's not in your face or aggressive playing. It's very much like he described it, rural folk. If you think about like some of the Aaron Copland ballads and things like that, where it's more open, expressive sounds and about a singable melody, that would be kind of along the lines of what this album was. So if you're doing some yard work or you're cleaning your house, then you might want something that's unobtrusive but still pleasant to listen to. And this one, it was released posthumously in 2024, but it was a great introduction, I thought, to his music, and I've started to dig deeper into his catalog of other albums. So,
very good. I
That
mean, it
sounds
sounds
really
like
good,
Yeah,
yeah.
it sounds like a great
Really relaxing.
soundtrack for spring.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you've cleaned your house. You've realized you got to hop in your car to go get some stuff for that small engine, and you're going to need a soundtrack on the way. And
Absolutely.
You stop and get a bite to eat. Okay. We're enjoying spring. All the trees are blooming. There's beautiful colors. And then Piepie has this next recommendation.
Yes, I also have a music CD. It's called Garrett versus Paganini. David Garrett is one of my favorite musicians. I listen to him all the time. He's a German classical and crossover violinist. And we have Garrett versus Paganini in our library collection here. This album is wonderful. It's just like Charles's pick. It's great to have on in the background and play straight through. I can't think of a single track I dislike. It's beautiful. Mostly instrumental. There's a couple of vocals. But yes, it's gorgeous straight through. Highly recommend.
Okay. Do you feel like you listen to music year-round?
I do, yes,
Do you listen
all
to
the time.
different musics for each season?
No, I think it's whatever I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I listen to a lot of children's music in the car.
That
with-
makes sense.
with my kids.
I do not. Thankfully, I do not. So, Charles, what do you have for us next?
Yeah, so it's also kind of musical related. I guess explicitly musically related. It's a book. We talked a little bit about hobbies and that spring might be a good time to start a new hobby or learn how to do something new. So the book that I brought along those lines was Musical Chairs, a 76-year-old's quest to learn every instrument in the orchestra, and that is by James Mitchell.
I've seen that around. It looks really interesting.
Yeah, and it's not a super long book. It's kind of like novella length, 150 pages, just around there. I don't really know much about James Mitchell or his background, other than in the blurb he talks about he took some piano lessons when he was a kid, and then for about 70 years did nothing else musically. But he was a longtime admirer of orchestral music and would listen to symphonies in whatever town he would be in. He would travel around and listen to the classical music on the radio, and then just decided that he wanted a project. He was feeling like he needed something creatively, and so he decided to challenge himself to take all of the instruments of the orchestra, leaving out percussion, but all the strings, the woodwinds, and the brass. And he was going to take 12 lessons on each of those instruments. And that would be his dive into each of those instruments. So it's not like he was going to learn to play them at a professional level. He just wanted to get a foundation in, like, what is this instrument like? And what is it like to learn to play it? So I thought this book was an interesting dive, partly from looking at those different instruments. You could just jump into whichever chapter you like for that instrument. If you say you're a low brass player, for instance, and you wanted to find out what's his take on the trombone, you can jump into that and you can read about what he found interesting or challenging, and maybe you can relate to that. Or he also talks about the history and development of all the instruments, and then at the end, kind of takeaways of what it's like to approach a project like this and what it's like to learn something new. So even if you're not wanting to do the same project of like learn a whole bunch of musical instruments, there are still takeaways that you can apply to other learning in your life about it's never too late to learn, and the kind of effort that goes into learning and making it a fulfilling experience for you. There's also a lot about, since he takes lessons on them, a lot about what it's like to be a good teacher and the kinds of teachers he related to and the kinds of teachers he didn't relate to. So it was a fascinating process that he went through, and it was a good book. I enjoyed it. It was a quick read.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah,
really intriguing. I have a question. People, longtime listeners of the podcast, will know that Charles is I will say professional musician. Is that fair to say? I mean,
I went to school for a long time.
Yeah. So what would 12 lessons, where would that take you?
It depends on your approach to it. For him, I felt like it was surprisingly a lot that he learned. And I think that was just mainly because he wanted to do some kind of like showpiece by the end of it. So instead of jumping in and spending a lot of time on like fundamentals and like when I went to grad school, my first month of lessons, we didn't even get the instrument out of the case. It was just all mouthpiece exercises to work on tone quality. So if you're taking an approach like that, where it's like a 2-year-long program, then maybe your pacing is a little different than what he had. But he was able to, on each instrument, he was able to get to play something recognizable that was like a solo that he would play at the end of the 12 weeks.
This is what I love about, our collection and our library materials, because it just, you read something or you hear that someone has read or watched or listened to something, and, you can just talk forever about it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're always learning. It's such a fun place. Yeah,
it is. Well, Piepie, what can we learn from you now?
My next selection is called The Book of Doing by Allison Arden. It takes us back to what we were talking about hobbies and getting active and inspiring and exploring. It's almost like one of those junk journals. Are you familiar with those?
I'm not.
There's sort of like a piece of art and you write in them.
Okay.
So this book, The Book of Doing, it gives you prompts to do all sorts of activities: sketching, creating, cooking, thinking about the world in a whole different way.
Okay, great.
So yeah, it's a good book to pick up if you're wanting to learn something new. Just get out of your comfort zone and exploring the season.
So once again, that author and title?
The Book of Doing
Okay.
by Allison Arden.
Very good.
I feel like that's a lot of those creativity kind of books is part of it is inertia and like getting moving on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
trying to get you to get out of your comfort zone
Right.
and actually
Be
try
creative.
something.
Yeah. Just everyday activities, but that there's a joy in them.
And spring's the perfect time for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's continue our pursuit of spring items from our collection that might enhance our lives.
Maybe enhance our lives. Maybe I think this enhances people's lives. So I brought. We talked also about what we wanted to bring, and that a lot of people like dogs, and dogs for springtime seem like a good pairing. When I think about dogs, the book that comes to my mind is Where the Red Fern Grows, which is a common read for people in late elementary or early middle school. It is by Wilson Rawls. And it is commonly listed as one of the saddest books that have been written. It's on a lot of those lists of like, hey, you want to cry? Read this book.
Why not?
So for spring, I thought I'd make everybody real sad and talk about this one. The general story of the book, if you haven't read it, it's about a boy named Billy Coleman, and he's from a poor family in the Ozarks region of northeast Oklahoma. And the main arc of the story is about him as a young boy at 10 years old wanting to buy a pair of hounds to help him hunt raccoons and bring in some extra money for his family. So he works and gets the money, and then he walks all the way to the next town and gets the two dogs and brings them home, one boy and one girl. And then inspired by an etching on a tree, he names the dogs Old Dan and Little Ann. And then the rest of the book is about his relationship with the dogs. So It is a very moving story, and one that I think when I read it, even though I didn't grow up with dogs, that has instilled in me like a lifelong desire to like have my own loyal companions like that. So
very good.
it is a classic story that a lot of people read of coming of age, but related to the dogs.
I think there's a movie based on the book.
I think
correct?
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's at least one.
At least one. Yeah.
So many books that, I hear, well, you would have read that in grade school or middle school. And I feel like that list is pretty long. And
Very lengthy.
I will admit, I've never read that. So
Yeah. It's not too late.
Well, what else should we be reading, Pi Pi?
Well, when you think about dogs and books, you must check out W. Bruce Cameron. I've met him in person twice at a couple of book signings, and he's just delightful. He has many books about dogs, puppies, and other animals. So today I'm recommending Lacey's Story. It's a children's chapter book, but it's really sweet. It's full of humor, it's full of heart, and it's told entirely from the point of view of this puppy named Lacey, who has a little girl that she loves, but Lacey ends up in an accident, and I won't go into it, but it's definitely a compelling read for all ages.
Okay. Well, that's great. We are running out of time, so we're going to keep on moving. And Charles, I see, is this your final selection?
This is my final selection. One more dog book. I thought the other one was maybe a little sad, so
Cheer us up.
I brought Dog Man by Dave Pilkey. You may be familiar with this because it is an international best-selling series with 13 books in it. They are graphic novels by the creator of Captain Underpants, if you are familiar with that series. There was a movie that just came out in January of this year and earned $36 million in its opening weekend. So it is not an obscure title, but I thought it is, if you're looking for dog-related materials, I think adults would also enjoy this. The basic premise: Officer Knight and his dog Greg are both very bad at their jobs, but when they are tragically wounded in a failed bomb defusal attempt, Officer Knight's head begins to die, and Greg the dog's body begins to die. So the surgeons decide to save Greg's head
Oh my gosh.
and Officer Knight's body by sewing the dog head on the man's body, thus creating the super crime-fighting
so
hero
wild.
Dogman.
Dogman. Oh my gosh.
So that's the setup for the book.
This is the greatest recommendation of the entire podcast.
It's full of puns and literary references. There's some potty humor, but I think the fast-paced action draws a lot of people into it, and I really enjoyed the series. I've read most of them at this point.
There's so many, isn't there? Yeah.
13 of them. I think I've read at least 10. So
Patrons ask for this series all the time.
yeah. So if you haven't seen it, it's a great one to read and read along with your family, and everybody can find something they enjoy out of it. I really like all of the jokes that Dave Pilkey throws in about like classic literature. So
Well, wow, what great suggestions that you brought to our theme of spring into spring. And a quick reminder that all the titles that you heard today can be found at jocolibrary.org. jocolibrary.org/uncovered, and we will have a book list that links to our catalog with every single one of these recommendations. Piepie and Charles, you really rose to the occasion to bring us a good variety
We
of
tried.
spring things.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having us on again.
Yeah, and
thank you.
welcome back anytime, and enjoy your spring.
Thanks. You too, Dave.
You know, for me, spring is when I'm at my best. I'm at my most productive. The ideas are flowing, the energy increases. It's a time to try new things, learn new things. I start all of my new projects in the spring that carry over to the rest of the year. Gardening, for instance. I'll plant flowers to attract pollinators, to pollinate my fruits and vegetables. I grow herbs that I'll be cooking with throughout the year. Spring sets me up for my absolute favorite hobby, relaxing. And that wraps up our 4-part series on seasonal collection selections. If you missed any of the other episodes in this series, the Summer Getaway, Fall into Cozy, or Winter Wonders, they're all available along with some pretty tremendous book lists highlighting our collection. All at jocolibrary.org/uncovered. There you'll find the book list for today's episode as well. Again, a huge thank you to Charles and Piepie for once again sharing some really great items from our collection. So, what's next? After a summer hiatus, we'll be back with more Joco Library Uncovered. But first, as you might know if you've listened to the podcast, I'm a web developer, and we're developing a brand new website for you. So my full attention is going to be turned to that until the fall. I'll be back with some friends and colleagues to talk about our new website and some of the exciting new things we have for you. Until then, read on, everybody.
Joco Library Uncovered. Joco Library Uncovered is a production of Johnson County Library and is recorded at the Central Resource Library in Overland Park, Kansas. We would love to read your thoughtful emails at uncovered@jocolibrary.org.